is a tale we all know, navigating constellations, charting the unknown. With the stardust in our veins, we are never alone. From the Milky Way shores to the depths of black holes, we'll sing our sea shanty as the universe unfolds. Sail up high to the galactic sky on our moonlit voyage. We'll keep reaching high. We're sailors of the cosmos, a crew full of might. Let's sing this sea shanty under starry night's light.
Hoist the sails and let the wind guide our way. We're the spacemen sailing the cosmic bay. From Jupiter to Saturn we'll deliver our freight on our starship, sailing through the interplanetary strait. With a hardy crew and a cargo of dreams, through the nebula's mist we'll forge our own schemes. In the vastness of space where no man has been, we'll navigate, chart the unexplored galactic highway. Give all mateys upon the starry sea. We're the spacemen sailing through infinity. With our voices loud and our spirits free, we'll voyage across the celestial sea. Voyage across the celestial sea.
Alrighty, greetings ladies and gents, and welcome to the stream. Hello. Hope everyone is well. Hope everyone is ready for some stories. Excuse me. Good evening, for me at least. Amber, 97, Ben Schaefer, that's a pleasure. I'm glad you're still enjoying the content. And Longhauler, Heel Tech, all of you guys, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Hello. And yes, Merry Christmas, or whatever you celebrate. I'm not picky. I celebrate anything that gives me chocolate for breakfast. It's just a rule of thumb. Now, let me leave the music on. Otherwise, there's dead space. We'll just lower the volume. So these songs were AI generated. We generated them when I was recovering from the throat surgery. So we were looking for stories that were sci-fi related, and we couldn't find any royalty-free ones, so we made some ourselves. I'm glad you're enjoying the stories, Amber Pelton. I really am. Got my coffee, got my hydration. Yes. It's an invisibility cloak, hydration. You drink it and your tummy disappears. It's going to be a weight loss fad. Gonna make billions off of it. Oh. Nope, I just got coffee. Nothing fancy. Some filter coffee with a bit of sweetener and some milk. But good news for those keeping track of law. We actually got our water back today, so that was awesome. Had a shower, much needed, much fun having that shower. That was 4 days with no water. No, there we go. 4 days, no water, fantastic. I mean, it got to the point yesterday that we bought the 5-liter jugs of water just to flush the toilets just once. Because we'd run out of the 25-liter waters. So, first thing we did is we filled everything up again. Ready for another bout of no water. Pressure is crap. But you know what? Still better than nothing. Good evening, Wolfos. Hope you're doing well. That sounds like the Breakfast of Champions. Well, they reckon it's going to be 5 days until full pressure. But, like I said, any pressure is better than nothing. I mean, we weren't too bad because we had the 25-liter jugs for the bathrooms and the 5 liters. We bought another 50 liters of water, so another 10 5-liters in the last 4 days. Because, of course, there is a, heat wave going on as well, so fun times. I'll have to figure out a way to put them somewhere where they can be downloaded, Ryan, and it's a bit beyond me. I think I did put them on the Discord server, but I'm not entirely sure. It's only the first, where are they? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The first 6 songs are AI generated. The others, maybe, I don't know. They're lo-fi beats, which I think we'll actually just take those away. I like the songs we generated. If you're wondering what generated them, it was a AI called Suno AI, which actually went public recently. See if we can do this. Hide that. Window capture. So this is the AI that generated them. And it's not perfect, but it works. I think a lot has changed since then, because we generated them about 5, 6 months ago, 7, a year. I have no idea. A long time ago. But there's been a lot of legal action with copyrights and stuff, so I don't know how well it does now. Yeah, I would hope so. I'm actually just waiting for the reservoir to fill, so that's not an uncommon thing here. I think we've been on water rations for the past 30 years. I could be wrong. A song about war in the style of doom music. War in space? Space. Greetings, Andrew. Hope you're doing well. No? Just continue. I don't care. Okay. Can't do it anonymously anymore. I'm not logging in. But anyway, that's where all the songs came from. Maybe I'll generate some more at some point. Maybe I won't. I don't know. I think we generated like 50 songs trying to get like the right ones, which is normal with AI. Just reiterate until you get to something that works. The thing I find funny about this song is I asked for a sea shanty, so it's singing about a sea shanty, not in a style of a sea shanty, which I find funny. It's like most AI, if you ask it to generate a picture of the galaxy, it gives you a picture of a phone. That looks good. That looks good. Let's move it over there a bit. For anybody who really cares about my recording schedule, this is what I record in a week. What I just highlighted. Let me move in a bit. So yeah, there's this week's recording schedule. And that's just YouTube. Can't really see the highlight there. But yep. This is everything I've recorded this year. What did I want to do here? Oh, I wanted the number. 92. Well, it's not only the Samsung AI. Any AI. Every AI I've tried it on just gives me a picture of a phone. But I'm just looking for like a picture of a galaxy so I can just slap in the background of a video. Yes. And that's only this year. I've got backups all the way back to 2019. So red here is today. Purple is edited and video. Yellow is recorded but not edited. Yeah, not the number I was looking for. I was looking for the number for the video, which is 92, not 93. 92. Yeah. We're in the Milky Way galaxy. That's just a white AI cell phone, and we're near the camera section, like right at the tip there, whereas most of the universe is there down by the power port. That's how it works. And then the expansion of the universe is how hard you can throw the phone across the room. Okay. Let's go back to some dark colors so we don't blind ourselves with the brightness of not dark mode. All right. Are we all ready to do the thing? Well, I suppose I'm going to sit up straight. Have a bad habit of slouching. But I can't sit forward because that scrunches up the diaphragms. You can't really narrate like that. Okay. Hit 1 if we're ready for a story. Specifically the one that's on screen. Yeah, pretty close, Vault. I just go with outer space in the future, and it gives me kind of something that I can work with. But strangely enough, even if I go with like Milky Way or space, it always puts some person in there. It always puts person in there. Very rarely generates something without a subject, so it doesn't do landscapes very well. Well, landscapes. Space landscape. Maybe I should just use the phrase space landscape. But anyway... hard lessons. Okay, so sure it doesn't need to be pointed out. Story, recording software, me, chat. And away we go. By the way, when I narrate, I do not pay attention to chat, so I assume that you guys are going to talk amongst yourselves and play nice while I do the storytelling. Okay. Greetings, ladies and melogents, and welcome to this latest edition of Re-Tifos, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called Hard Lessons, written by HFY Anthracite. This particular story is called Hard Lessons, written by HFY Anthracite. Gerd Lexel was searching in the small alcove where the supplies were kept for a stupid fastener when the bomb hit his squad's location. That is all that saved his life. A loose screw, as the humans would call it. Gerd Lexel remembered seeing the flash, and then nothing. As fractions of a moment later, he was hit by the twin waves of pressure and fire the human ordnance had caused. He awoke in the White Room on what felt like a perch couch assembled by artisans. It conformed so well. He awoke in a white room on what felt like a perch couch assembled by artisans. It conformed so well to his underbelly. He tried to move, but was surprised to find that all his limbs were held down at the third articulation with a soft and unyielding pressure. A few moments after he began to struggle, a soft ding alerted the other occupants of the room that he was awake. He looked down at his forelimbs and was confused to see that they ended in metal plates near the second articulation. He hissed in confusion. Just then, a voice from his left spoke. "They were damaged by the explosion. Do you remember the explosion?" Gerd Lexel continued to stare in dismay and horror at his mangled limbs. He chuffed, signaling an affirmation of his memory. Two small limbs, far too close together, stepped into his field of vision, and he finally managed to tear his eyes away from his now useless forelimbs and look into the face of his captor. Standing just over 3 yearlings, approximately 5 feet tall, covered in white garments with long brown hair, and forward Whoops. That is definitely 2 small limbs. Mistake. They were damaged. They were damaged by the explosion. Do you remember the explosion? Gerd Lexel continued to stare in dismay and horror at his mangled limbs. He chuffed, signaling an affirmation of his memory. 2 small limbs, far too close together, stepped into his field of vision, and he finally managed to tear his eyes away from his now useless forelimbs and look into the face of his captor. Standing just over 3 Yearlicks, approximately 5 feet tall, covered in white garments with long brown hair and forward-facing tri-colored eyes, auditory condenser flaps on either side of its head, and a mouth full of teeth, he was showing off in a continuous and yet was showing off in a continuous and, at least to Gerd Lexel, disconcerting fashion. Good. It's good you remember. Gerd Lexel of the Sigliv. I'm Maggie Jones of the Terrans. I'm a combat medic. You're in a Terran combat recovery ward. Do you know what that means? The creature looked directly into his eyes, while continuing to display dentition. While continuing to display dentition. She had made an attempt at saying his name, but lacked the physiology to truly pronounce it. Gerd Lexel stared at the human for a moment, unsure of so many things. He was in a human soldier clinic. He was captured. Am I to be made a slave? He said. The Sigliv were not a slave-keeping race, but there were some in the galaxy. Humans with whom the Sigliv were currently at war were rumored to be slave-keepers. Many of their conquered worlds were populated by humans, as well as the species that had lost the worlds to the humans. as well as the species that had lost those worlds to the humans. But many people were also But many were also populated only by humans. Many of the fighting forces from the human military were not humans, leading many to believe they simply could not use the inhabitants as slaves and instead sent them to die as cannon fodder in the war. Humans were not part of the alliance, and so cultural exchange was limited. The Sigliv had gone to war against the humans because the humans were living on a planet that the Sigliv was granted possession of by the alliance. When the Sigliv colonists arrived, they had destroyed the human colony. The humans retaliated by invading the planet with military troops, killing the defending soldiers and loading all of the colonists onto a cargo vessel and sending them back to the Sigliv homeworld. The Sigliv then mobilized against the outsiders. Humans do not keep slaves. We haven't done that in over a millennium. No, you are here to be healed. You see these plates? Look at the surface. She touched the control combat device she held, and Gerd Lexel felt a gentle pressure holding down his forelimb's release. He turned the end of the forelimb to look at the plate, and noticed it contained a small raised studs and some contact plates. The humans continued to talk as she moved around the side. The human continued to talk as she moved around to his side. These are contact plates, and they allow you to take control of devices that can be hooked onto them. To start with, we have these. She pushed a small cart into his view, and on it, She pushed a small cart into his view, and on it, Gerd Lexel saw 2 Sigliv fallen ends, complete with 6 digits after the 3rd articulation. They were made of some sort of shiny plastic. She picked one up using both hands, as it was nearly half her height and length. Hold out your left forelimb. He extended the remnants of his limb, and, with a practiced ease, she aligned the studs to the small channels of the end of the prosthesis and slid it down over the studs, locking it into place with a turn and twisting the base. As she twisted the base, a small cuff extended, covering the ragged interface of the Sigliv flesh and the contact plate. There we go. Good as new. Try wiggling your fingers, she said, waving her own left hand. waving her own left appendage as 5 digits in a cyclic motion. Gerdlexel waved his new fingers around. He turned the limb over, looking at it from all angles. He could use it without effort. He used it to touch the contact plate on his other forelimb. He was surprised to find that he felt the coolness of the metal and the pressure of the touch as well. If it were not the strange coloration, he would have thought his limb was not missing. He looked up to the human. She was showing even more teeth. "Here, you try it." She rolled the card forward, and Gerdlexel lifted the prosthetic into place. He pushed it onto the studs and twisted it into place, then extended the cosmetic cuff at the interface. He wiggled his fingers on the new limb and then touched the new He wiggled his... Yes, Donald. Definitely. Working while listening while working while listening. If you want, I can put an echo on. Make it that much more Inception-y. The cuff at the interface. He wiggled his fingers on the new limb and then touched the 2 prostheses together. Now these are just temporary replacements, training units that are going to be replaced with a personalized set. The coloring will be really close matched to your scale pattern. It takes a while to manufacture the custom ones, so until we can work through the queue, you can use these, okay? Any questions? Maggie Jones, why have you done this for me? I'm your enemy. I should be dead, but you have saved me. You have saved me, but I'm not whole. I'm not whole, so you made me whole. I am whole, but you did not keep slaves. But you do not keep slaves. Am I to be kept as a prisoner? I do not understand. Gerdlexel looked at his captor, tilting his head slightly. My kind are good at war, Gerdlexel. In this entire recorded history of my world, we were at war with each other, right up until we learned that we were not alone in the universe. After that, we were at war with other races. This has taught us a number of very hard lessons, and the ones I'm about to share with you are the important ones. Pay attention. First, humans thrive on conflict as a species. We challenge ourselves to achieve ridiculous goals. We play more competitive sports and games than any other species we have met, and we eat things most species classify as toxic because it's a challenge. Second, winning means innovation. Maggie began to roll up her sleeves of her shirt as she spoke. To win at all those competitions, at all those games, at all those wars, we are constantly searching for more and better methods, training and tactics, new weapons and equipment. Third, we learn from failure and loss, even when that failure is our own, even when it is disgraceful, even when it hurts. Fourth, and most importantly, we learned that conflict with someone, something, some species cannot mean to hate it. If you hate something you have conflict with, you would try to eradicate it. And when the conflicts are with your own species, that means you hurt yourself. Humans don't hate the Sigliv. We never wanted a war with you. We just wanted to be left alone. That's why we sent back your colonists. We were being kind, but your leaders mistook it for arrogance or weakness, or God knows what. Now, here we are, 2 crippled combat veterans with more in common than not. She twisted her own arm off to reveal the contact plate just below the first articulation, her shoulder. The last lesson humans learned from the thousands of years of war is this. When the fight is over, it is over. No grudges, no hate, no animosity. Someone wins and someone loses. Who won isn't important as how they won. Did they do it with dignity and respect? Did they show all the losers that they would respect? Did they show... Good evening, Postmatic. Hope you're doing well. Merlin, same to you. Did they do it with dignity? Did they do it with dignity? Where the hell am I? Did they do it with dignity and respect? Did they show the losers they were respected? Did they honor the sacrifice of the dead and the fallen on all sides? There are a great many Terran colonies where humans and aliens live together because we have learned these lessons and respected our enemies and made them our friends. Sadly, not everyone understands these lessons, and they fight till there are none one and they fight until there is no one left. These are our greatest losses, when we cannot reach our enemies to teach them these lessons. Maggie retracted her arm and rolled her sleeve down. We will fix your wounds and give you your freedom. It took humans over 3,000 years of pain and blood and death to learn these things. You can return to fighting us, or you can learn your lesson. End of story. Doop-de-doop. That's true. There's a minute delay between the Twitch stream and the YouTube stream. So that's more Inception-y. I'm glad to hear it, Postmatic. Oh, we missed one. We missed one. Huh. One. We shall fix that soon.
Keep reaching high, we're sailors of the cosmos, a crew full of might. Let's sing this sea shanty under starry night's light.
Hoist the sails and let the wind guide our way. We're the spacemen sail the cosmic bay. From Jupiter to Saturn we'll deliver our freight on our starship, sailing through the interplanetary strait. With a hardy crew and a
No, no.
forge our own schemes in the vastness of space where no man has been. We'll navigate, chart the unexplored galactic highway. Heave ho, mateys, upon the starry sea. We're the spacemen sailing through infinity.
Just want to give a nice background to the chat so we can see what's happening. Because text on text is a bit confusing, at least for me. Alrighty, that should be a bit better. Now everybody can see chat. Yep, just checking everything is working. Yep. We can remove that. We can remove that. That's funny. Grumpy cat. Oh, saved it as the wrong thing. Is that right? 94. We're not sure we did Cold Rage. We did Cold Rage. I'm missing a story that we did last night. Which could also just be me mislabeling things. Anyway. On to the next story. Henry? Yes, so that was the ghost story on the ghost story. Okay. Just lower the volume. And away we... Oh, we did exchange program. Sure, we did exchange program. Am I losing my mind? We did exchange program last night as well. I remember this. I'm confused. Is called Exchange Program, written by LG Father Anthracite. I did do it. Okay. Not only, I just need to check that I remember doing it, but that I actually saved the file, which is, sometimes has happened that I haven't saved the file. Okay, so this will be 93 then. I had the numbering right the first time around. Okay, we did Exchange Program. So today... we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7. Maybe 8, 9 stories. Maybe. We'll see how it goes. Okay, anyways, so we're at 94. Yes. No, don't want that. 94 dash The Legend of Jim. Close enough. No, I just had the numbering wrong. For some reason, I didn't put the full title into the file name. So, it was just getting the numbers confused. Okay. Right, The Legend of Jim. Greetings, ladies and melogents, and welcome to this latest narration. Oh. Greetings, ladies and melogents, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them... Nope, this is not that. Greetings, ladies and melogents, and welcome to this latest edition of Read TFOS, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called The Legend of Jim, written by T. Marcos. As you can tell, all the beginnings are muscle memory, so if I get one word wrong, I go to a different muscle memory set. It's fun. The bar was not amazing, but the bar the bar was not amazing as bars went, but it was passable. Ticket sighed, his arms rattling together in a cascade of fatigue and a long-anticipated relaxation as he reclined back into the dinghy. Pitted plasterboard dingy, not dinghy. As he reclined into the dingy pitted plasterboard chair. Sometimes, at the end of a run, you got lucky and there was a fun spot where the owners actually cared about the atmosphere and menu. And sometimes the station had a reeking cart where the janitor sold distillate that he had fermented out of a waste compactor. This place was just average. It sold beverages and had seats. He cast glittering eyes across the table towards the component. He cast a glittering eye across the table towards his companion, who was prodding at flecks caught in the foam atop his beverage with a suspicious look. A human named Andrew V. He was Ticket's sole crewmate on their long-haul freighter. Drew and Ticket had been crewing together for about 8 months now, which was long enough for Ticket to know that Drew had already decided that he was going to drink it, but some theatrics were necessary to display the depth of his satisfaction. But that some theatrics were necessary to display the depth of his dissatisfaction with the current venue. Drew eventually settled back and took a long pull from his flagon, smacking his lips and wiping some foam from his bristly upper lip. Contemplation gave way to a mild disgust, then resignation, as he shrugged and drank it again. Ticket chittered. "You know, I smell some methanol coming off of that," he said brightly. Drew coughed, shooting a dark look back across the table. "Believe me be, you stupid bug, 9 bind. Believe me be, you stupid bug, 9 decicycles on the run. We ran out of booze on 1 decicycle in." "Because you drank it," interjected Ticket. "Meaning," Drew continued bullishly, "that I have been subsisting off reprocessed water for 8 decades, and I resent your attempts to diminish my enjoyment of this undoubtedly lethal swill." He batted. "Good evening, Joseph. I hope you're doing well." He batted lover's eyes at his mug, which hissed softly at the off. He batted lover's eyes at his mug, which hissed softly as it off-gassed a slow, foul trickle of something. Ticket couldn't quite place it, and didn't particularly want to. "I'll leave you to it," he said, magnanimously, with a roll of his major eyes. The gesture meant nothing to his species, but he had adopted a few of the more achievable items of the human body language for Drew's sake, as humans tended to find him somewhat inscrutable otherwise. Drew snorted into his mug, sending flecks of smoke. Drew snorted into his mug, sending flecks of foam scudding over the table. Drew snorted into the mug, sending flecks of foam scudding. Drew snorted into his mug, sending flecks of foam scudding over the table and onto the floor. "You're getting a lot better at that, you know. You're getting a lot better at that, you know. You should be careful you don't pick up too many bad habits. They won't let you back into the hive." Drew scratched his beard, pondering. "Would they have an issue with you acting human around them?" Ticket chittered. "Alien, maybe, but human is fine. Nobody would object to acting human." "Why?" Drew said. "Why?" said Drew, genuinely curious now. Ticket fixed him with a glance, then swiveled a few more eyes to stare as he realized that Drew wasn't poking fun at him for once. "You don't know about Jim?" he said incredulously. Drew raised an eyebrow. "Dare say we invited Jim." Dare say we invented Jim, unless there's more to given names than you've told me." Ticket bristled. Angry dogs. Choir. I'll take this time to drink some coffee. My little dog is telling the big dogs to go away. In no uncertain terms. Okay, maybe some certain terms. Get off my lawn. Alrighty. Okay. Bjerg, 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 bjerg. Bjerg, 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 bjerg. Ticket. Ticket bristled.
How do you not know this? It's literally the most well-known story amongst the hit.
Drew patted his head and body thoroughly, then turned his arms Drew patted his head and body thoroughly, then turned his hands palm upwards. No shell, no feathers, he exclaimed in mock surprise. Ticket shook his head.
I can't believe you don't know about Jim, he muttered. He was human. House is not taught in human schools.
Jim who? Asked Drew. I don't know of very many. Asked Drew. I don't know of very many famous Jims. Ticket let out another rattling sigh, then drew himself up to a traditional storytelling posture.
Drink your pipe, scum, and listen up. I'm going to tell you the story of Jim.
Long ago, the hit were young in mind. They walked the water with joy. They walked the shore with joy. And the sun shone down brightly over all. Wait, said Drew, holding out his hands. What's the walking with joy business? Why are you talking like that?
It's a traditional story, snapped Ticket, his scales flaring. Shut up and drink. Let me finish.
He shot one more irritated glare at Drew, who was shaking with silent laughter while trying to wear his best wide-eyed, rapt pupil expression before recomposing himself and continuing. Long ago, the hit were young in mind. They walked the water with joy. They walked the shore with joy. And the sun shone down brightly over all. For an age and an age we lived with joy. The water and the sun provided life. Our arms were full of food, and our shells were safe in dens. One day, the sky gave us Jim. He fell on a pillar of fire, and came with smoke and thunder. To the sun and shore and water, Jim was alone of his kind. He called to the sky for his brood mates, but none came to answer his call. In time, he named the hit his brood, and we him. Sorry, Drew interjected, holding up his hands. I don't mean to interrupt, but I have some questions about this whole thing. Ticket sighed irritatedly, then nodded. How long ago was this? Drew asked. You're talking like he fell on you all in the Stone Age.
Prior, actually, said Ticket. We weren't really doing much with tools back then. The whole world had everything we wanted in abundance. We were smart enough, just no pressure to improve. Despite that, it wasn't that long ago that this happened, just over 3 kilocycles.
Holy shit, exclaimed. Holy shit, exclaimed Drew. And now you're a spacefarers. The hell happened to bring you all up to speed so fast? Ticket didn't answer, but instead fixed Drew with a patient glare until slow realization crept over his face. Nodding, Drew motioned for Ticket to continue. Jim walked the water with a hit. Jim walked the shore with a hit. Jim did not feel joy, for Jim was old in mind. Jim brought tools and arts from the sky, and with them he learned of the world, and as he learned of the hit, so we learned from him. First, he taught us words, which gave our minds a shape. Second, he taught us writing, which gave our minds a pattern. Last, he used the words and letters to fill our minds with knowledge.
And knowing this, our minds shouted and screamed and burned and grew old. We walked and asked Jim why he had done this. Where there was sun and water before, there was now discord and strife, as we looked beyond what we had enjoyed. So what? This Jim guy crashed on your planet and turned your island paradise into civilization. Buddy, I'm not so sure that you should be thanking him. Drew shook his head. Most of the time we discourage random folks from seeking out uncontacted species. But that far back, Ticket nodded,
Jim wasn't there by choice. He was one of the earlier cartographers.
Okay.
He was one.
Cartographical.
Jim wasn't there by choice. He was one of the earlier cartographical vessels your people sent out, and his ship got knocked out by a flare of our sun. It was experiencing intense activity at the time. In fact, it's why he did what he did. He fixed Drew with an expectant look. Drew nodded and motioned for Ticket to continue. Jim was saddened to see our pain, but he spoke to us and urged calm. He told us there was He told us that we must look beyond ourselves, for the sun will soon turn against the water. We listened, though our hearts were burdened, and Jim taught us how to shape the wood of the land, how to shape the metal of the earth, how to shape the flow of the air. Years passed, and we grew in number, but Jim was one, and he passed into death, leaving his knowledge and power for us. Standing alone against the sun, Jim left us his letters and words. Guidance for a path up from the water. Guidance for a path over the land. Guidance for a path towards the stars. When the sun lashed out in its rage, we were saddened for what was lost. But sorrow only plagues the living, and both life and memory are his gifts. Ticket folded his upper arms, signifying the end of the story. Our sun went nova about a half-kilocycle ago, and our original homeworld was destroyed. Because we had so long to prepare and so much of a technological head start, instead of an extinction event, we lost only about 5% of our population, and were able to preserve much of the plant and animal life.
Drew whistled softly. That's one hell of a thing, buddy. So the hit, home fleet, Ticket nodded.
Our entire civilization, until we resettled on our more recent colonies.
They sat in contemplation, Drew draining the last of his mug and looking at the foam slowly sliding down to collect at the bottom. Finally, he grinned and slid his mug over to Ticket. So in spirit of thankfulness, he shook his head firmly,
I don't owe you shit.
Drew blinked. Oh, excuse me, he managed, somewhat taken aback.
Sorry,
Ticket chided.
That's from Jim as well. He left us some instructions on what to do when we met humans eventually.
Laughing, Drew got up to refill his drink. Sounds like he was a pretty smart guy after all. Ticket nodded and reclined further, the chair creaking worriedly under him. The chair creaking worriedly at him.
He was at that.
The final lessons of Jim. Number 1. Just call me Jim, damn it. I should have never mentioned my last name to you spiky bastards. 2. Stop fecking killing each other over food. 3. Actually, just don't kill each other. It's not nice. 4. Use the plant... 4. Use the plans from the computer to keep working. 5. Don't be a dick to the AI. It's trying to help you. 6. Don't just work on the fun stuff. All of the plans are there for a reason. 7. Don't start worshipping me like some fucking savior. 8. Don't stop worshipping the AI either. 9. When you meet other humans, remember that you don't owe them shit. 10. Have fun out there and be good. End of story. The music stopped. There we go. The music is back.
toil, with grit and determination, we push ahead for Mars, hidden riches, we're truly bred. We're truly bred.
My poor camera has a little freak out when I change to the spreadsheet. How time flies. Doesn't feel like an hour's gone by, but it has. And we've only done 2 stories. Struggling a bit. Good evening, Adderworks. Hope you're doing well. Jim is awesome. Jim is life. My granddad was called Jim, although I suppose a lot of people's granddads were called Jim.
Sailing through the cosmos, it's my final voyage, leaving Earth behind, seeking stars to my home.
Oh my goodness.
Of space, when no one can hear, I'll sing my space.
Still got another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-ish stories. 7. 7. Ah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7. 7. Jim, son of Jim. Okie dokie. Just Curious is number 95. 95. I was born in the darkness. 95. Dash, Just Curious. Curious. Alrighty, story number next. Lower the volume of the music just a touch. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this latest edition of Read TFOS, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your Nope, that's still the wrong one. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this latest edition of Read TFOS, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called Just Curious, written by Algae Father Anthracite. In a small room, filled with chairs and a small podium, several dozen humans and aliens had gathered. Off to one side were several screens, showing an ever-changing collage of pictures. Most featured a single human male, while others were small devices and handicrafts. Some showed groups of people as well. Heizichki approached the podium, and after a few moments, a low murmur from the crowd settled down. Nope. Dad Nichols was a man who failed at everything he ever did. He was, in his own words, a student of failure. To me, this was a deeply troubling statement, the first time I heard it. I have spent my life trying to succeed at every endeavor I have undertaken. I think this demonstrates a fundamental difference in the way my thinking differed from his. Dad was not afraid to fail at anything. He would play new games and lose in spectacular fashion. He would constantly try doing new things, often making egregious mistakes and getting abject failure as a result. However, he never let such failures hold him back. He often kept them as trophies of his exploits. He was known to carry a shoulder bag that he had designed, with a strap that was too long and pockets that were too small. He had a shelf covered with small pieces of wood which were clearly unfinished projects that had failed.
He had trinkets and doodads, as he called them, that had been produced by a number of different methods, all failures. I asked him once if he ever had succeeded at anything. Oh, all the time. I usually give the good stuff away as gifts. Making stuff is fun, but I don't need a half-dozen cutting boards or 200 pens. I don't need 10 blank books, but I have... I don't need 10 blank books, but I have 10 friends who could each use one. When I asked him why he kept the bad pieces, the failures, his response was, I'm not going to give away the bad ones, but come on. It was more fun for him to make a thing and give it to someone than to make a thing and keep it precious to himself. There are many here who even now carry a small object he made. The Zitchki opened a pouch in his harness and pulled out a key fob with a shiny wooden charm on it. Many others in the seats held up small items made of wood, metal, fabric, and plastic. The alien put the key fob away and proceeded. He said that he was a student of failure, because if he looked at what he had done that failed, he could learn how to avoid such failures in the future. He said that the thing that made him so talented was that failure was never an endpoint in a project. It was a lesson in how not to proceed on the next attempt. For every wooden bowl he made on a lathe, he said, at least one more had broken apart before completion. For every charm he made his wife, a burned lump of metal came first. He claimed, falsely, that he was not a particularly smart man, but that he was just curious about a lot of things and had a lot of free time. Just curious. Just curious. It was because he was just curious about the Zitchki that he approached me. He was fascinated by our artwork. He asked if it was common practice, or if only specially trained artists made it, which piece was my favorite. He asked about our food, entertainment, recommendations for literature. Every few days he would come to my office and seek some tidbit of knowledge. After a few weeks, I began to expect such visits, and in short order joined them. I remember the first time he invited me to his home for a party, and how he made a special effort to make my favorite food. It was not good. He apologized, but he never gave up, and after 5 or 6 attempts, he actually made a really good breakfast tart. He was a good friend and a good man, and his only true failure, as far as I can tell, is leaving this place before we were all ready to let him go. May his spirit fly forever with the great bird of the galaxy. End of story. Bit of a sad one. And swiftly on to the next one. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest narration. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Read TFOS, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called Just a Little taste. Written by Algae Father Anthracite.
It's called a dog.
It's called a dog, Canis lupus familiaris. It's a distant relative of one of our planet's apex predators.
You keep a apex predator as a pet?
Oh no, dogs are different from wolves. We've been breeding them for thousands of years, so long as... We've been breeding them for thousands of years. So long it predates our written records, something like 20,000 years.
Can they breed together?
I think so.
Then that thing is an apex predator, even if it isn't a wolf.
Well, it's perfectly safe. I had him trained specifically because, as an ambassador, I knew that he would need to be well behaved.
Why is he looking at me like that? Is he hungry? Tell him I'm not food.
Relax. He just wants to be a pet. He just wants to be pet. Here, place your hand on the flat part of his skull, right between his ears, and then run your hand down his spine. There you go.
He's tasting me. He's tasting me.
Calm down. Don't panic. It's perfectly normal. Licking is how they show affection. He likes you. It's fine. Down, Bruno. See? He's stopped. Good boy, Bruno.
He will not eat me?
Nope. Won't happen.
He is very soft. May I pet him again?
Sure. Bruno, sit. Stay. Don't. Stay. Stay. He shouldn't move or try to lick you now.
I find this quite pleasing.
It is. It is one of the best reasons to have a dog. If you would like one, we have many that are available to adopt, and I could see to it that the dog is properly trained.
I don't think that I could handle such a large animal.
Oh, they come in all sizes. A pug or a chihuahua would be perfect. Here, look.
And you could have it trained.
Well, we actually had a breeding pair of corgis delivered to your queen as a gift. I hear she's very fond of them.
I think, perhaps I might like that. Good boy, Bruno. Oh, more tasting. Okay, be calm. It's just a little taste.
See? He likes you. End of story. Why do I have this as the longest story? No idea. It is what it is. For the TFOS, I like splitting the re-TFOS. Doing it one at a time, rather than bunching them together. Then people can re-listen to the ones they like, and not have to listen to ones they don't like if it happens to be in the same video. That's my theory, anyway. Does mean that we're going to have some short re-TFOS. Greetings, ladies and melogents, and welcome to the latest edition of re-TFOS, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called The Old Gods, written by Algae Father Anthracite. Brenning flipped through the book carefully. The paper was old, maybe thousands of years. He could not wait to decipher the text and learn what secrets and ancient truths they contained. The vessel was strangely proportioned, taller and narrower than Perenning's people would have designed. The hull was battered and torn open. It had been drifting for centuries, if the pitting on the hull were any indication. All the coating of the hull plates, if there had ever been any, had been all the coating of the hull plates, if there had been any. All the coating of the hull plates, if there had ever been any, had been sandblasted off by interstellar dust. The small stasis box had been a puzzle when it was first discovered. It was the only power source on the otherwise derelict ship. After decades of study in reverse engineering, Brenning's people had managed to understand that the contents of the box were essentially stuck in time. As long as the power held out, the contents were immediately frozen. As long as the power held out, the contents were immutably frozen in the same state as when the stasis field was applied. Finally, they had powered down the stasis field and opened the box. Inside were dozens of pieces of organic matter that had been pressed into sheets. These sheets were bundled together and had been covered almost entirely with art and symbols. More decades of study followed. The original items had been replaced in stasis, and electronic copies were distributed to linguists and scholars from all over the many worlds of Brenning's people. The Genzi occupied. The original and electronic copies were the original items had been replaced in stasis, and electronic copies were distributed to linguists and scholars from all over the many worlds that Brenning's people, the Genzi, occupied. All known galactic languages were checked. Some progress was made, but without some key, it was slow going. Finally, after nearly a century of study, a student from a border colony noticed that the symbols were similar to markings of an old abandoned outpost that was part of an archaeological study in his system. The ship was of human design, and the books were written in Terran. The human civilization was not active in galactic society, which is why the language was not in our database. They had incompatible biology, and while there was no hostility, cultural exchange was almost non-existent. An inquiry was made, and a suitable translation key was delivered. The humans asked if there had been any bodies in the vessel, and we informed them that it had appeared. We informed them that it had appeared empty. We sent them the documentation to find. We sent them the documentation of the find. They thanked us for finding and reporting the lost ship. We asked if they wanted the books back. They said they appreciated the offer, but they held no significant value. A few short weeks after the key was delivered, the last of the books were translated to Genzi. Xenoanthropology students everywhere started to dig into the newly available texts. The texts were stories of gods and heroes. They told tales of sacrifice, bravery, hope, and despair. Impossible scenarios were laid out, and through logic, strength, and determination, the gods and heroes succeeded. And occasionally, despite all of this, still occasionally, they failed. The stories, along with the art, had originally accompanied them were hugely popular. They showed deep insight into the minds of creatures we barely knew existed. We had bits and pieces of stories, but nothing complete. Then inquiries made to the humans. They responded that the stories were well known to them. They were still popular amongst their kind. We asked for access to the archives. They seemed confused as to why we'd want access to such stories. We told them of how popular they were amongst the Genzi, and increasingly other species of the galaxy. They agreed on the condition that we exchange with them a database of our own literature and art. Massive data caches were exchanged. Brenning, now chief xenoanthropologist of the Genzi, carefully flipped through the pages of the original artifacts and marveled at the rich, complex stories and art. It was too bad the humans were so different biologically. If nothing else, their legend showed a deeply introspective and honorable people who would strive for justice and equality. Brannick could not wait to see more of these comic books. End of story. Brand new in wrapper. They broke the seal and destroyed the value. How dare they? hydration. Cutie God.
It's my final voyage, leaving Earth behind, seeking stars to my homage in the depths of space. When no one can hear, I'll sing my space shanty. Let the stars draw near, raising up the anchor, setting sails to the sky, bidding farewell to this world. No tears left to cry.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this latest edition of Free TFOS, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called Death, written by Poseidon __. Excuse me. Problem with all the liquid. That's why I don't drink bubbles. Well, much often. Well, here I am, and there he is. As I lay here in the snow, thousands of light years from the place of my birth, I reflect. Not much else I can do. Another bomb did its job. Birth, childhood, adolescence, adulthood. My career in the military, I'd done some bad things. There was blood on my hands, that was for sure. I'd sent many people to meet the figure now standing above me. But I had justified it in the name of my species, in the name of Earth, in the name of Terra 3. I'd done good things as well. I evacuated the I had done good things as well. I evacuated the civilians of Nydia Prime. I still remember the children, wide-eyed and oft covered in soot, how their eyes softened when I told them it was going to be all right. When I hugged them, I could momentarily take away their fear. It's funny. I'd never fallen in love. Always told myself that it would happen later. Now, the only later is when the blood-stained snow around me is covered by a fresh blanket. The universe slowly ticking by without me. My life wasn't really good, but I wasn't evil either. My life wasn't really good, but I wasn't evil either. I suppose a trait most others share. I hope that it was mostly good, and that bad was justified, for one is always biased towards themselves. With this in mind, I looked up at the cloaked figure. "Hello, Death." "Hello, Andrew. You can get up. Your body is now dead." "Hello, Death." "Hello, Death." "Hello, Andrew. You can get up. Your body is dead now." I stood up, but my body didn't come with me. My ethereal hands were translucent, and my movements were wispy, leaving a faint trail of light. I looked down at my corpse, lifeless eyes staring up at the stars, the red stain upon the snow still slowly spreading. My beard was frosted over, my final breaths on the frozen planet creating ice crystals that made my beard appear white. That is a lot of listening to me. How many minutes are there in a year? Just out of curiosity. The contrast, the red snow surrounding my body, reflective of a violent end. Yet upon my face, snow untouched, and I'm at peace. Yet upon my face is snow untouched, and I am at peace. I shift my gaze to death once more.
Well, now what?
Out of all the races in the galaxy, you humans are the most peculiar. In life, you are similar to the others. You live the best you can and do what you must. Something more is necessary, others less. But in death is where the races differ. Most of the other species all react the same way. Fear, acceptance, anger, even happiness. But no two humans have the same end. You right now came to terms with the end of your life, and yet your comrade, who lies not 3 kilometers away, killed by the same method, is currently panicking about how he will be judged.
Will I be judged?
Oh, no. Judgment is reserved only for the truly wicked and the truly angelic. You, my friend, do not fit either of those categories. Your brother-in-arms won't be judged either.
So, if I'm not going to be judged, what happens?
Well, I suppose that's up to you. You can really do whatever you want. I just have to escort you from this plane to the next. That's it. That's
it. I just have infinite free time. Is there no purgatory, no field of asphodel, no heaven, no hell, no Elysium, no eternal punishment?
No, don't ask me why. I'm simply a ferryman. Charon, they used to call me. I think death suits me better.
What about those who are judged? Are they not rewarded or punished?
No, judgment is not to determine where one goes after death. You sapiens have contradictory trait of both heavy self-bias and self-doubt. The supremely wicked must be purged from their self-bias to understand what they have done. To understand what they have done, and the supremely virtuous must be purged of their doubt.
And then we all get to the same result. What's even the point of living well, then? I could be a serial cannibal and the end result would be the same.
Not so, for your satisfaction in life determines your fate in death. Purged of all self-bias and doubt, can you live with your actions? Most can, and need no help to achieve acceptance, even if finally they panic like your comrade. Like I said, sometimes outside interference is necessary. Before you died, were you, in general, happy with who you were?
For the most part, yes. There were lows in self-loathing, and highs where I was prideful, but they mostly averaged out.
I found comfort in the fact that if I ever didn't enjoy who I was, people change over time. So eventually, I wouldn't be that person anymore. Although, now I guess I'm stuck as this person forever. No, you can still change. Have no fear of that. As I stated, the pleasure in death is truly only how happy you are after... As I stated, the pleasure in death is truly only how happy you are with yourself in true objectivity.
I'm not sure how this all works. It seems contradictory and prone to wild extremes of fairness.
Much like you humans are yourselves. A fickle species, you humans. Always a special case. Always unique. Very well. I suppose I can't explain it any further. Come, it is time for you to be shepherded across the veil.
And with that, I followed death unto the unknown. End of story. Okay, so that's about 1% of the year. That's, my math is correct, close to 2%. So 2% of your total year was spent listening to me. That's insane. Good evening, I Forget Worlds. Hope you're doing well. And Hawk Force, I'm glad you enjoyed the year, all the stuff we produced this year. Very much appreciated. Although not as much as some years prior, but the last 18 months have been a wild ride. The surgeries, the moving, the stress, all of that stuff. Hopefully, in the coming year, we can settle into a more normal schedule. And hopefully no more surgeries for the rest of my life, but at least for the next couple of years. 4 in a year just takes it out of you. You know, I can't even describe how. It just feels like your life force is drained after a surgery. And then you have 4 in a year, and even though none of them were, except one, were critical. One was an emergency surgery, but, you know, it's just... Lady Blackwind, whichever one you prefer. I'm not particularly fussed which one. Each has their own merits, so whichever one you want. Three more stories for the evening. But before then, I'm just going to take a quick break. I'll be right back in 2-3 minutes. But I'll leave you with the space shanty music. And the squirrel. Be right back.
From the Milky Way shores to the depths of black holes, we'll sing our sea shanty as the universe unfolds. Sail up high to the galactic sky on our moonlit voyage. We'll keep reaching high. We're sailors of the cosmos, a crew full of might. Let's sing this sea shanty under starry night's light.
Hoist the sails and let the wind guide our way. We're the spacemen sailing the cosmic bay. From Jupiter to Saturn we'll deliver our freight on our starship, sailing through the interplanetary strait. With a hardy crew and a cargo of dreams, through the nebula's mist we'll forge our own schemes. In the vastness of space where no man has been, we'll navigate, chart the unexplored galactic highway. Evolve maze upon the starry sea. We're the spacemen sailing through infinity. With our voices loud and our spirits free, see.
And back. Timed that perfectly. Lower the volume. Thank you. Be right back, Squirrel. Much appreciated for your hard work. And heading on to the next story. Let me just drink something quick. Hydration and caffeine. A good pair, if I do say so myself. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Re-Tifos, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called Magnetic Manipulation of Plasma, written by Poseidon __. Reduce the volume a bit, so it is background and I'm not fighting against it. From lower physics clerk to physics research keeper subject, plasma manipulation. Hey, I've got a request from a human organization for our research on plasma manipulation. Can you authorize the release of that? Thanks, Zykaltha. From physics research keeper to lower physics clerk, plasma manipulation. Done. Seems harmless. Any idea what they want it for? We found absolutely no practical use for this. The most we can do is form about a meter-long cylinder out of plasma. Regards, Rick Perks. From lower physics clerk to physics research keeper, plasma manipulation. No idea. Something else is odd, though. They keep asking for research on what substances produce blue, green, and red colors that could also be manipulated. But none of the research mentioned the color of the plasma. Probably because it was done by a team of Ilwyn. Only a couple of them have color vision despite our efforts to breed them. At least we won't have to worry about another war since the research is useless. Regards, Zykaltha. End of message chain. Hey, Bert, guess what? No way. You got it. They released it already. Yeah, you'd think they would want to keep the stuff out of our hands with the peace treaty and all that. Who cares? Show me what they had on hand. Show me what... Good evening, Ryan. Hope you're doing well. Who cares, man? Show me what they had. No. Who cares? Show me what they had on this. Joe, this is perfect. Joe, this is perfect. They said there's no practical use for this stuff since they can only get into cylinder shape. But I'm A-okay with that. Albert, let's get to work. We have some testing to do. Gotta make sure that we get the colors right. Yeah, we don't want to be Sith. Several months later. Galaxy Imperial News, the most trusted source of news in non-human space. Today marks the official breakdown of Terran-Imperial relations, and the Terran's notorious private sector has produced a new weapon, this lightsaber. Whoop, I hit the microphone. Lightsaber is made using stolen Imperial research on plasma manipulation. This fearsome weapon can be easily concealed and ignited in a moment for stealth operations, or used in normal combat. It is currently unknown how Terran soldiers are able to wield the weapon, but it is suspected that the temporal field technology banned during this last round of peace talks was secretly still developed by their private sector, and aids their soldiers in anticipating and blocking blaster fire with their lightsabers.
The Terran government took great offense to our Emperor's demand for them to abide by the peace treaty, stating that the Terran government denies any involvement in the new research developments. All new research has been completed solely by independent corporations. As we speak, our Emperor is issuing a declaration of war against the Terran Confederacy and mobilizing our star cruisers to attack the Confederacy's corporations. Good luck to our glorious army. End broadcast. 5 weeks later. Galaxy Incorporated News, the most trusted source of news in the former Zarth Imperium, today marks the official surrender of the Emperor Carthaxel, signing full territorial control over the Terran Confederacy. Well, the first week of the conflict was a stalemate, and the various Terran corporations quickly called for help from their government once attacked. Once the army arrived to relieve the security forces, the new Jedi Corps made short work of the Emperor's 185th Battalion, which had been bred for battle for centuries. A new weapon also appeared after the second week, transforming the previous defensive action into a quick and decisive lightning war. Produced by Lucas Eng, Light Force TM allows for the simulation of telekinesis by manipulating gravitational waves. The Jedi Corps of the Terran Confederacy quickly advanced into Imperium 10. The Jedi Corps of the Terran Confederacy quickly advanced into Imperium territory, easily defeating the battalion's place throughout the Imperium space. As the former Zarth Imperium becomes assimilated into Terran Confederacy, we will bring you more information. End broadcast. End of story.
I'm not sure what you mean, Ryan. It would just change the timing of things. If it's relating to my work schedule. I probably won't produce more content, just more consistent. Plus, there are some secret contents on the way. Super secret. Subscribe to the second channel. By the way, the second channel isn't the series channel. The second channel is my random crap channel, which has been stealth silent for a while. But it will be making a comeback in the coming months. Strange and exciting things will be happening over there. But that channel will only kick off once we're in Portugal. Well, immigrated, settled, and ready to start performing. She knows. And we'll be introducing a new character. That'll be Agro Dad. He's keen on doing stuff on the secret projects on the second channel. This is number 100. 100, yep. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the latest edition of Read TFOS, where I take old... Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Read TFOS, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called Meet the Neighbors, written by You Sure I'm Not a Robot.
His Greatness, General of Worlds, Herd Leader of the Proud, Tim Naya guarded.
Would it be Aggro Scroll Dad? Aggro Dad. Whatever.
This will be a momentous occasion, our first contact. Write that down. Make sure the journalists use capital letters. So, do we welcome them to the herd or start shooting?
General, they refuse to answer our questions. They insist on meeting in neutral space. We are not to attempt any landings on human worlds. They seem enthusiastic about meeting us, just a little paranoid.
Typical behavior.
A little paranoid.
Rumbles in the sky.
The sky is angry. Not meeting us, just enthusiastic about meeting. Paranoid.
Typical herd behavior. Perhaps they have not eradicated all of their predators yet. Very well. We will meet them as they wish.
The human delegates arrived at the station. All outgoing communications immediately shut down. A single human entered the meeting room, covered head to foot, showing only its paws, 5 digits, no talons, definitely a herd species. It introduced itself. General, I am Ambassador Rince. I'll represent humanity in these discussions. I'm afraid no communications with your empire is possible until we conclude. His Greatness, General of Worlds, Herd Leader of the Proud, Tim Nyagard.
You may call me Tim.
Thank you, Tim. I'm here with grave news. The information you have provided us about your glorious empire has excited and intrigued our people. However, we fear contact between our worlds will lead to violence. I am here to help prevent that.
We seek no dispute with you. Your peoples are so welcome to share the vastness of space as our other allies. We come in peace. Please, whatever issue you have, let us resolve it here.
Ambassador Rince began removing his headscarf. I am afraid I ordered the doors sealed for this. Please try and remain calm. I promise that you wish no harm. I promise you that we wish no harm. At the sight of the 2 forward-facing eyes, the ambassador revealed Tim Nyagard. Tim Nyagard felt a panic he had not known since he was a calf. Only one type of creature had eyes like that. He was trapped with the beast. They had not eradicated their predators. They were the predators. What madness had he inflicted on his herd? A space-faring evil. They were doomed. All doomed. Please, General Tim, we are here to secure peace between our people. When we received your information, we were surprised, more than surprised, that our neighbors were all herbivores. Yet it never occurred to us that such a thing was possible. Tim Nyagard resisted the urge to run, but he was a soldier. He had stood before enemies before and held his ground. If he was slaughtered and eaten in this room, he would keep his pride. Also, the door was locked.
What do you want of us, Predator? We will not be food. We have destroyed any that would prey upon us before, and we will do it again if necessary. The herd is strong.
He knew he was lying. The moment his people found out that millions of space-born predators lived next door, they would flee. Chaos would descend on the worlds. Perhaps now you understand the caution in how we chose to meet you. We are not, as you put it, predators. Simply we have evolved from an omnivore species. Our food now is, of course, entirely ethical, even by our own standards. Your dismay at what we seek to avoid. Your dismay is what we seek to avoid. If your people react like that, there will never be peace amongst us. At that, Ambassador Rince finally revealed his face, laying the cloth on the table between them. He sat quietly, allowing the general time to gather his thoughts. He began pouring the tea that his staff had thoroughly. He began pouring the tea that his staff had thoughtfully provided.
Perhaps I can offer you a cup?
Perhaps I can offer you a cup. I find it calms the nerves. We call this blend Earl Grey, although I have no idea why. It is perfectly safe for your species.
Tim Nyagarded accepted the cup. If all else failed, it would serve as a weapon. The unnerving stillness in Ambassador Rince wasn't helping. He felt emotions long dismissed by his people. The fears of a child. The fears that his kind had felt in the long battle with those that regarded them as prey. Fine words. Your face is a face of our darkest fears. I do not trust you. Your teeth and your eyes tell me what you are. No, I know why you hid yourself from us. You wait like an ambush, like all your kind.
I am authorizing you and your staff full access to our datanet. Please be aware that it is uncensored and, to be honest, smutty. You may search our history. There are terrors there, even for us. We are not what you were. We are not what we were. We have found peace after many battles, as you did. The difference is that we fought ourselves. The door is open, General. Please consult with your staff. My people will remain in seclusion until we meet again.
Tim Nyagarded watched as his staff uncovered horror after horror, thousands of years of murderous greed. Those closest to his species were slaughtered and eaten for... Those closest to his species were slaughtered and eaten or bred. Those closest to his species were slaughtered and eaten or bred. Sorry, brain and word just not making sense. Those closest to his species were slaughtered and eaten or bred to imbecility to serve the perverse tastes of these creatures. Everything on the twisted planet was a predator. Then it began to change. They found peace amongst themselves when they gained space. New worlds, new technologies freed them from the chains of a death world. They retreated to the cities, rebuilding the wild planet they had inherited. Herds roamed free, challenged only by their natural predators. Food was created by machine, disgusting forms of protein still, but now no pain, no hunting, no killing. They proudly recorded that no animal had been killed for food in 1,000 years. A bizarre boast. Inform Ambassador Rince that we need to meet.
I am grateful that we meet again. It gives me hope for the future. How may I help?
We have studied your past. My staff are of the opinion that you pose no threat to us. I do not concur. However, we are neighbors and, despite your disgusting habits, we must come to some arrangement. Since you've had longer to consider this than I, what suggestions do you have?
Tell me, General, what is your people's proudest moment? The one you still celebrate every year. From your information, it was the burning of the last den of, wolves would be the closest thing that we have. Your people killed them all, correct?
Yes, finally our people were safe. Our greatest achievement.
Am I right that you had achieved space travel by then, that you numbered in the billions?
I'm afraid that what you celebrate...
I'm afraid what you celebrate would be regarded as the ultimate crime by our people. Your ongoing massacres of any meat-eating animal would lead to war if my people found out. I'm afraid that until your species learns to peacefully coexist with other creatures, we will not.
Interesting. This is very much the concept of the nature of predators. But it was written 5 years ago.
We will not.
No. What are you doing, computer?
We will have to restrict your access to our space. This station will serve as our only meeting place. Such a pity.
End of story.
Hello everyone, 30 people, 35 people. We're kicking ass with the numbers tonight. Welcome, welcome. Hope you're all enjoying the show. But fear not, the edited versions will be up eventually. I skipped a paragraph. Okay. Oh, right. I read half of it. Such a pity. This station will... We will have to restrict your access. I'm afraid what you celebrate will be regarded as the ultimate crime by our people. Your ongoing massacres of any meat-eating animal would lead to war if my people found out. I'm afraid that until your species learns to peacefully coexist with other creatures, we will have to restrict your access to our space. This station will serve as our only meeting place. Such a pity. Not which one I skipped. Not sure which one I skipped. Ah, okay. All good. All good. It has happened where I've skipped a paragraph. It's just, I look up and I look at the first couple of words, like when I made the mistake and had to start again and said, we will have. And if there happens to be a paragraph one further down that also has, we will have, and my eyes land on it, that's where I start reading. Jane Shane, good evening. Yes, it does take a bit of work. And this is only part of the work. There's still another process which takes twice as long, which is what my wife does, is the video editing. So she goes through it line by line, aligns the text, removes any erroneous stuff that's made it through, and then tightens up the timing of the breaks. So I take about 2 to 3 times the length of a story in time to read it, and then the video editing takes 2 to 3 times. If we include video into that, then it's 6 to 10 times. So a 10-minute story could take 2 hours to narrate and edit, which, all things considered, is not long by YouTube video standards, where some people take 40 hours to make a video. But seeing as it's just reading and scrolling text, it should be quite a bit shorter. But this is the process. Scrolling text is not as easy as one would think. It has never been easy. I think it's easier, it could be easier now. You could probably use AI to do it. But there isn't a button that you can click and then just have scrolling text. She listens to the whole story and then just speeds it up or slows it down to match the text. So if there's a paragraph where I talk faster, she'll have the text moving faster. So it takes quite a while. Relative.
Thank you very much for the tier 5 sub 00. It is very much appreciated. It is very, truly, and honestly awesome of you to become a channel member at that level. At any level, in fact. Thank you very much. Thank you, Lady Blackwind. I appreciate it. Always the first time. 05. Always the first time. I don't stream all too often. I'm busy trying to change that. But, yeah. We'll see how it goes. What are we doing? Cool. So, getting back to the length, you'll see now if I make a mistake and I like register the mistake, I just delete the audio. If I'm recording video like I used to, I can't do that. Otherwise, the audio and video get out of sync. So I record without cutting anything. And that's what makes it longer. Well, I'm very glad you enjoyed that story. I enjoyed it as well. It was something different, but more old school HFY, but enjoyable nonetheless. Not super grossly one way or the other. So, yeah, it was a good story. A nice, solid HFY story, in my opinion. Thank you very much for the kind words, Penna Gallery. Very much appreciated. Sure. I mean, anything where you look at how the sauce is made normally is more work than you think. Because if I do my job right, you shouldn't think about the amount of effort I put into it. You should only be concentrating on the story and being entertained. And if that's what you get, then I've done my job. Fair enough, the tired biker. Fair enough. I can see how that could be a bit weird. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, what they reckon is a beginner narrator does about 8 to 1. So, 8 minutes to 1 minute of finished product. Or 8 hours to 1 hour of finished product. But an experienced narrator can do about 3 to 4. So that's kind of where I am, is at 3 to 4. On just the pure audio side. Some stories just don't sit well. For whatever reason, the flow of the story just doesn't agree with my brain, and I struggle with it. So those stories take longer. But series, I'm used to how the author writes, so it becomes quicker to narrate after a while because I can kind of guess where the story is going or what words they're going to use. Because narration is just predictive text in the head. It's why primate and primitive always get transposed in my head. It's because both words are used quite a lot in HFY. So if I see PRIs like the next word, it's 50-50 whether it's going to be primitive or primate. There's currently 1,000 stories. 1,000 stories. 1,000 videos? 1,000 videos on the live setup. Problem is, it's on a remote server, and I don't want to touch it too much, otherwise it'll fail. It's very difficult to work with. And then we also have to go back into all the videos and remove the beginning and end. So the intro and outro. So it's just a lot of extra work. So we do it occasionally. But there is also a playlist that has every story. Every single one. So if you play that playlist, you'll... Techno Mage, it's because it gives me money twice. 2 monies, Two shout-outs. Fair enough, Jay Shane. That does take a bit of time to do as well. Look, the audience of HFY do a lot of the work there. Because I look at the stories and the updates. I don't only focus on the top ones, but I look at the ones that are trending on there. And then find awesome authors. And then just read their stories. It's more about finding good authors. If you find good authors, you find good stories. But it's still, sit, do stuff. The Retifos is easy because it's just going through my old videos and picking up all the ones that are between less than 20 minutes. Because some of the old stories were like hours long, which we don't really do anymore. Loud car. Another loud car. Okay, are we ready for another story? Let's just get some hydration in. Yeah, this will definitely be my last story. I don't know whether you guys can hear it, but the voice is starting to be not happy. And we listen to the voice now. We don't abuse the voice, so I don't get another slit throat. Yeah, there's been a couple like that post. I just read stories. They do not express my opinion on anything other than it's a story that I'm reading. I'm not trying to do anything other than tell a story and entertain people. I'm still in South Africa. So hopefully this week we get the nod from the Portuguese consulate. Once we get the nod, we've got 2 weeks. Well, I've booked a flight for the 8th of January, somewhere around there. Then we do the final things in South Africa, which is put furniture on the boat. Fair enough, Technomage, but the time to produce it and the rewards for producing it aren't as good as a 10-minute video. Unfortunately, that's what YouTube is promoting, so we have to play ball. But there is still the series. I do have a series channel, so all the very long format, the multi-chapter format is on the series channel. Anyways, yeah, so once we get the nod from the Portuguese consulate, we slap almost everything onto a boat, send it to Portugal. We put the pets into a pet courier service. We get rid of our beds and all the other stuff outstanding, cancel a bunch of stuff, and then hop on a plane. And then, start the exciting new process of spending money in another country. But we're getting there. We're getting there. That's fair enough. It depends on the bat and the ball. I mean, playing baseball with a golf club probably isn't the best idea. Or playing cricket with a bowling ball, probably also not a good idea. Anyways, on to the last story for the evening. We will chat afterwards, chat. Yeah, well, I've had 18 months of turning around and giving money to lots of people to get this done. It has been ridiculous. Immigrating from one country to another costs a lot of money. When done legally. Anyways, on to the next story. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this latest edition of Read TFOS, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called Parasite Slavers Get Too Close to Adorable Humans. You won't believe what happens next. John Jack, hero of the Battle of Hunti Nebula, U.S. Space Marine, and the deadliest sapient in the galaxy, sat in a small bar, a glass of pure ethanol sitting in front of him, delicate shards of ice spinning in the vacuum outside of the glass steel window. "It's hard, you know," he growled, his voice raspy. His eyes were on the view screen. A sad-looking Gulfrati male stood, his dozens of iridescent feathers flashing and drooping as he spoke about the tragedies occurring on Earth. The Qualian sitting next to John nodded sympathetically as John threw back the glass, trying to suppress a smile. John shot the smooth-skinned reptiloid a dirty look. "No, I can't imagine." "No, I can't imagine," it hissed, frills twitching in the air in amusement. John cursed himself inwardly. The Quillians developed stiff, immobile scales as they reached maturity. These scales were only pliable in their infancy, which made wrinkled features, like, for example, the Terran shooting someone a dirty look, childlike and endearing. John tapped the glass rim, and the Quillian hooted for the bartender. Those same scales made them inflexible and clumsy, at least by John's standards. The average Terran could scoop out a Quillian Blood Knight's eyes with their thumbs and suffocate them under the weight of their forelimb with minimum difficulty. It would have been easy to kill the Quillian for the insult, but he just thought John was cute. It was hardly fair to hold the universe's sick joke against one sapient. "I'm not cute," Jack said, slurring his words slightly. "Now, of course you're not. Would you like more ethanol?" asked the Pretian. I'll definitely look into that, Sunoco. Interesting. Anyways, the scrolling text will have to be changed. But yes, we'll see what happens. Slurring his words slightly. "No, of course you're not. Would you like more ethanol?" asked the Pretian. "Of course you're not. Would you like more ethanol?" asked the Pretian on the other side. The heavily furred lupinoid reached out and paused for a moment. Is it okay if I pet your head?" "Fine," muttered Jack. The Pretian was young, 7 feet tall. They were intimidating looking, strapped with muscles and claws. They were also incapable of maintaining the simplest thoughts when they were agitated, making them unbelievably easy to trip up. Foolish as a berserk Pretian was a byword. They were also covered in a thick fur across They were also covered in a thick fur across their entire bodies. The exotic, humanoid, skin juxtaposed with a head of smooth and silken hair was apparently tacitly pleasurable to them. The Pretian leaned forward and began rubbing John's head with both hands, an expression of pure delight on the alien's face. "Would you like some more of those poisonous plants you soaked in oil?" It indicated the French fries in front of John.
He shook his head. Those...
Fair enough. I'll definitely look into it.
Those poor sapiens exist in a world full of danger and predators. As recently as 100 years ago, humans were still frequently preyed upon by dominant predators of their world. The Gulf-Ratty mail disappeared from the screen, replaced by a picture of a hippopotamus. Natural disasters continue to batter some of the few habitable parts. Natural disasters continue to batter some of the few habitable parts of their world.
The image cut to a snowstorm in upstate New York. Personally, Jack thought it looked rather pleasant. Personally, Jack thought it looked rather pleasant. No. Personally, Jack thought it looked rather pretty, but there was a soft groan of sympathy from the bar as humans were depicted walking hunched through the snow, bent over in heavy coats. Poor things, murmured the bartender, a chitinous lick. It looked like nothing so much as a man-sized bipedal scorpion, but the creatures were notoriously vulnerable, their hydraulic-based muscles poorly scaled, and their oxygen intake extreme, leaving them permanently anemic in most environments. John Jack couldn't even remember why they thought humans were cute, but he knew they did. Every goddamn alien did. I fought in no fewer than 8 walls, you know, John said, trying to keep his tone of petulance out of his voice.
That was very brave, said the Quillian. Hey, here, would you like to play with this?
He produced a Rubik's Cube. John settled his head in his hands.
Ah, do you need a nap?
There was a crash from the door. 6 Peritite slavers swarmed into the room, their thick shells dripping mucus. There were screams of fear as the musculoid creatures spread throughout the room. John Jack focused, adrenaline pushing his haze of alcohol. John Jack focused, adrenaline pushing back his haze of alcohol, his eyes flickering over to the weapons. They appeared to be a typical set of slaver control darts, a delicate cocktail of analgesics and depressants that would leave the vast majority of sapient species in a bleary state of... "Oh my God, boss!" shouted one of the Peritites, pointing at John. "Look!" The mollusk's eyes widened. John recognized him. He was one with the bounty on his head, his shell spread open in the unmistakable expression of Peritite delight. "Oh my God, Kralagarak! Get the camera! Get the camera!" The Peritite was standing next to John within a handful of seconds, grinning, one gooey tentacle raised in a crescent shape, the other on John's shoulder. Shell wide open, his second-in-command produced a holocamera. John's elbow cracked into the Peritite's boneless head, and it felt like a house of cards soaked in slime. Okay, that's a weird comparison. The human continued the motion in a single smooth pirouette, twisting on the ball of his foot and grabbing the full glass of ethanol from the counter, scooping it up and hurling it into the face of the one with the gun-wielding Peritites. The snail shrieked as the salt on the rim stuck to his skin, nasty blisters rising across the to his skin. His skin, nasty blisters raising across it in a ring. John was already following it, leaping from the stool to the counter, kicking the fries into the face of the third Peritite, hot oil scalding the gooey creature. He leapt off the table, his heels cracking into the shelves of the 2 remaining armed Peritites, leaving the fine hairline fractures across the length of their bodies. This left the last Peritite staring, his mouth wide open. "Oh, I can't believe it," he wibbled cheerily. "Captain, I got the whole thing. It was hilarious." Then John knocked the alien senseless. Half an hour later, Captain Kizix of the Red Panda was standing in the bar, the rest of the crew helping him bind the slavers. "John," the octopoid frowned, skin flashing red and orange, tentacles coiled into tight circles, pressed into something equivalent to hips. "This is why I don't like when you go off to drink ethanol. What if they'd gotten the drop on you and sold you off to some exotic animal collection? I was so worried. It's fine, John slurred, bent over his drink. And where's your ID? It's a collar, growled John. Oh, come on, John. You know it's not like that. It's very important. You're from a death world. It's just a part of the intergalactic war to show you're sapient and not dangerous. Just a formality. People don't treat me like I'm from a death world. It's degrading. He tried to stop growling. Low-frequency sounds were particularly soothing to Kix's species, and frequently used by immature members of the species to beg for affection and food. You tell me if you're keeping me around as a pet, right, Kizix? Of course I would. And you're not a pet. You're a human, a good human. Who's a good human? Who's a good human? Kizix ruffled and stroked John's hair. John didn't dignify the question with a response. Come on, let's get back to the ship and bring these arseholes in. John grunted, standing up, and his eyes flickered to the screen. The feldspar newscaster smiled. On a lighter side, amateur photographers captured the footage of a group of parasite slavers and a human. John covered his face with his hand and threw back another glass of ethanol. End of chapter. Oh, it's not a chapter. End of story. Yeah, interesting, Grey Ghost. Very interesting. Alrighty, I think that is going to be the reading for the evening. That is 2 hours and 15 minutes. On top of the work I did earlier in the day. So, voice is a bit, I say it at the limit, I think. Don't want to push it too far. Unfortunately, organic TTS has its limits. And the sky is angry, which means I can't record because the sky is angry. Okay, hit the mute button in time for that one. Oop, that's not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. Seems about right. Definitely right. Yep. Definitely doing my best to keep track to take care of it. Costs too much money to fix it when it breaks. That's if you can fix it when it breaks. Thankfully, I was able to fix it. So now we look after the voice. Now I am a diva with my voice. Drives me up the wall that I have to be a diva about my voice. But you know what? It pays the bills, so gotta deal with it. Good evening, Ratty Cheese. I hope you are doing well. Just by the by, we've reached 40 people watching on both Twitch and YouTube. Good evening, all. Welcome to the end of the stream. But welcome nonetheless. I don't know. I come from a working class family, so being like, my voice is tired, kind of drives me up the wall. But it is my job, so we do what we got to do. I enjoy it, but it's still a job. Oh, itchy nose. I'm glad to hear that, Ryan. I really am. Glad you're enjoying the content.
Any final questions before we log off? Me. You guys can stay. For some reason, when I talk about the channel, I talk about we because it's both me and my wife at this point. So if you ever hear me talking about we as the channel, it's not the royal we. It's just we the company. We the YouTube channel. I'm busy mapping. Ran into some problems with my build. There's a problem with the scaling of resistances, especially for melee characters. So I'm up to level 76, and I've cleared tier 5 maps. I'm busy working on tier 6. But I've had a lot of bad luck putting maps from to progress. So there's that. Working on getting a gear upgrade so that I got chaos damage mitigated. But that's about it. No, I haven't even done the ascendancy. Third ascendancy. Because it's basically need a whole respec just to do the ascendancy. Because of how the mechanics work. Good evening, Cameron Lang. Hope you are having a fantastic evening. And for all those that don't play PoE 2, pew pew kill creatures. Lots of. There's going to be a patch where they fix a lot of the problems. Well, some of the problems, shall I say. But I'm glad that some of the stuff that I was talking about, like the chaos damage scaling, has actually been recognized as a problem. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Poe the second, twice as good as the first. Diablo Souls, definitely. I mean, I can understand why people just stop leveling once they reach the waypoint map system. I suppose it's endgame. If it went quickly, it wouldn't be fun. Yes, nevermore but the sequel. As I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a rapping, something, something, chamber door, something, something. Been a while since I read it. That's putting it on mildly. Yeah. Okay. I will be streaming again tomorrow. What is today? Today is Tuesday. Tomorrow, same time. So between 7 and 9:30, whatever. Start streaming at 7 GMT plus 2, UHT plus 2, whatever you want to call it. So thank you all for spending your time with me. In this attention economy, as many put it, spending your time with me is very much appreciated, where you could be spending time on other stuff. I hope you all have a fantastic evening, or morning, or afternoon, whatever it may be for you. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Well, I won't be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I'll be at the end of my day. But you know what I mean. More stories tomorrow. Anyways, thank you all. Goodbye.